Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. Today we're working on February's calendar page. Now the image I have on the screen here for you, this was actually, oh my gosh, my brain just stopped. This was the piece, my inspiration if you would. I use Magic Media through my Canva account, and I will ask AI sometimes for ideas when I want to create something. So I knew I wanted like a sunset wintry scene because it's February, and I wanted birds flying in a heart formation. They gave me this, and I thought, okay, I can work with that, and let's turn that into, make it our own. And so today I painted this. So very similar with the trees, but I didn't want all those birds. Now you certainly could if you wanted to. Let's look at it again. There's a huge flock of birds. Or you can just have birds taking off and, the outline of the heart. That's what I'm going to do in the interest of time. But you can do whatever you would like. Wildflower says AI is deeply confused. It definitely is. But I think that we can use it as a tool to kind of help us when we're needing some inspiration. So this was one that I did earlier today. And we're going to paint this again on our calendar page. Excuse me. I have linked everything in the description below. So here is our calendar page for February. And last time I mentioned to you guys that if you don't have the Lightwish calendar, you don't have to get it to paint along. You could just use watercolor paper and create your own. And I shared some ideas like possibly using a visual journal where you could paint, each day, and it would be like a flip type calendar, and you could do your paintings here. I found a stamp at the Dollar Tree. So check your local Dollar Tree. They sell clear stamps. They also sell, and I left it downstairs, darn it. They also sell, they're very similar in size to this, but they're square. So you would be able to get a block, and they're about half the thickness of mine. They're more along the lines of like this thickness, but it's larger than this one that I have here that I had used at Christmas time. So it's larger than this. It would fit these perfectly. And you could do stamp your calendar on your painting and have it for, February. And you could write February, or, don't. You know which month you're in, right? So you wouldn't necessarily have to write the month, but you could if you wanted to. So that was just an idea. If you're working on your own, you could always get a stamp, and like this is perpetual. I can use this for any month, any year. I just have to pick where the first day of the month starts. And then of course for February, I'd have to, block out those last 3 numbers. So just an idea if you are wanting to paint along and wondering, hey, how can I do that? All right, I just turned on an extra light because it looked a little dark, and it's actually snowing here. So snow is coming down like crazy. Lou said he thinks we have a couple inches already. And it just started about an hour, 2 hours ago. Started around 1 o'clock. So yeah, it's coming down. All right. So we are going to do this. I'm going to show you a fun technique for doing the trees. So I've been wanting to do this, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work with my paints. So I tested, of course, because I painted that one ahead of time. I did a test print. I think I'm going to have to back out. I had tried to zoom in so you guys would be able to see really well. Let me get my palette out of the way. Of course, I'm going to be using my ceramic palette by Meeden. Everything is linked below. We're going to be using some Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. I have my Princeton Aqua Elite 1.5 inch modeler for wetting my paper. And then I have just 3 brushes, a size 10 round, a size 4 round, and a 3/4 inch wash brush. So I'm using the Velvet Touch for that. You use what you have. Our paints today, our paint is going to be, I'm working with 6 colors. I'm working with Daniel Smith. And I have PY 150, which is Nickel Azo Yellow. PV 19, which is Quin Red. PR 168, which is an Anthraquinoid Scarlet. I'm using neutral tint. And then I also have PBR 7, which is Raw Umber, and a PB 29, of course, Ultramarine. So those are the 6 colors that I'll be pulling from. Mine are by Daniel Smith, but I just gave you the pigment numbers. So, of course, you can kind of use whatever you have. Now, this month, the Lightwish calendar, of course, has these quotes. Each page has 2 quotes. I'm going to be taping mine off as we go over what the quotes are this time. The first one down here, it says, painting is silent poetry and poetry is a speaking picture. And that was said by Simonides, who was a Greek lyric poet. Simonides, yes. Excuse me. And then we have this one up here. Every artist dips his brush in his own soul and paints his own nature into his pictures. And that is Henry Ward Beecher. Henry Ward Beecher, who lived in the 1800s. There we go. In fact, it was 1813 to 1887. This quote was from Norwood or Village Life in New England, which was published in 1868. You find that quote, I had to look for this. You'll find that quote, chapter 10, page 69. And yeah, it was a book that was compiled from or inspired by his writings for the New York Ledger. So just a little interesting history about the quote there that's on this month's calendar page. I'm just using my Meeden tape to tape this down. I was trying to decide if I wanted to wet the back of this first, but now I'm just going to go with it. Hi, Boo Peep. Okay, let's see. And again, I'm just taping this off so that I can have a little border around my painting. And if you missed January's, you can certainly catch up, watch the replay, paint along. Excuse me. That was our January painting. So that is available. I am creating a playlist for all of these calendar paintings. So it'll be easy for you to find them and get caught up. Okay, there we go. So we're going to be diving right in this week because I think this one is going to take me a little while. So let me get my little notes out of the way. Don't mind me. I'm just dropping stuff in the studio. All right. So again, this is the scene we're going to be painting. Now it's not going to be exactly like this, and you'll see why quickly as we get started. Each one can be a little different. And of course, this is narrower than what I have here, which is fine. Now, after I painted this one, I thought, you know what? Valentine's Day is right around the corner, right? 8 days, so just over a week. This would make a really cute Valentine's Day card too. So if you like to paint your own cards and you need a Valentine's Day card, maybe something like this would work. All right. Let me bring my palette back over. So again, I'm using Daniel Smith paint today. I have my Dr. Paige Martin's Bleed Proof White. If you don't have Bleed Proof White, some white gouache would do just fine. All right. Now, before I start, I have some water on my palette. I need to dry that off. I had taken this down and washed it because when I did my practice one, I had the Bleed Proof White mixed in different things all over, and I had to get that off. So it was still a little wet. We are going to want to mix up ahead of time our yellow. Again, that was PY 150. So we're going to put some over here on our palette because we're going to need these ready to go because we have to work quickly. So that was just a little bit of yellow. We're going to end up adding water to that to water it down. We are going to want our PR 168. It's a warm red, and we will talk about how you can, if you don't have PR 168, what you can do as far as a substitution. So just a moment for that. I did mention, Dolphin Soul says, you mentioned grab table salt in Discord. Yes, I did. We were going to get there real fast. Okay, and then I have my PV 19. I believe this is Quinacridone Red by Daniel Smith. You could use like a Quin Rose if that's what you have. It's just PV 19. All right, so we have a little spot of each of those on our palette. Again, we're going to end up watering them down, but we want to have these ready because we have to work quickly. Because as Dolphin Soul asked, I had shared, if you're on Discord, if you are a channel member or a patron, I definitely recommend getting connected to our Discord because they had behind the scenes stuff on this today where I shared what the painting looked like and my idea this morning when I first came up with the concept. And so they've been able to see what's coming all day. You get all kinds of behind the scenes stuff. And that's from superfan to studio members. All levels of membership have access to Discord. And with each membership level, you unlock more channels on the Discord server and more content. So I encourage you, if you are a member, to make sure that you get, or a patron, make sure you get connected to Discord. Okay, let's talk about this. Salt. Yes, we are going to use salt. I have just some regular old table salt. This was one of those sets where one's black and one's white. You pick them up at the Dollar Tree. There you go, table salt. I keep that in my studio. So what I did was I made some swatches. Now this is a cellulose paper, so I know that my results can be different. My calendar page is cotton, 100% cotton paper for the Lightwish calendar. So I didn't have an extra piece of paper to test it on the actual paper. But what I wanted to know was, excuse me, which pigments were going to give me the best salt reaction. So you see here, I have two warm reds. PR 255. This was from Core. And I wasn't really crazy about how you can see where the salt was sitting. It kind of pulled in and left little rings around the salt. I wasn't really crazy about that. This is the PR 168 from Daniel Smith. I really liked the look of that one. And of course, same thing with the Core, the PR 122. It did that same thing where there's no salt left on this. I've already brushed it all off, but I didn't like those dark spots. But the PV19, look at that. Gorgeous. So this color and this color, I figured when I bring those together, it's going to give me what I want. So we're going to be using some table salt. You'll see real quickly as we get started. And this, just in case you are wondering, this was, it's PB27. So it's a Prussian blue. And it's Daniel Smith's version. I wanted to see how would this react so for a project that I'm thinking of. So I put that on there just to test it while I was, testing these others. So, hey, if you're interested in a blue that works beautiful with salt, that was PB27 by Daniel Smith, Prussian blue. So this one here, this one, and this one, these were my Daniel Smith colors. And I like the results I was getting with the salt. So hence why I went with the Daniel Smith. Dolphin Soul says the PV19 is gorgeous. The PR122 looks like a culture. Yeah. Yeah, I really liked these. I didn't want this like the dark marks where it pulls. So the salt will push the water away and it will draw up the pigment. And so it was leaving these weird deposits, which I just didn't like. These, just beautiful texture. So that's how I picked my colors. So if you don't have these, you just need a warm red, a cool red. The yellow, don't worry so much about. I just went with a warm yellow. And you're going to want to have a warm and a cool red that you like the effects of the salt. So that's it. And so you can test those in whatever supplies or colors that you have. Okay. So to begin with, we're going to have to wet our page. Don't worry about we need a line art or anything like that. You're not going to need that with this one. And I don't know why. I'm getting so much shadowing. My apologies. I don't know why that's happening. If I bring this down, if that makes it worse. Let's try to bring it this way. I don't know. It is what it is. Let's just roll with it because we have a lot of work to get through and not a lot of time. So hello to everybody in chat who's following along with me live. If you are watching on the replay, I hope you're going to give this one a go and let me know. Card or calendar page, maybe both. Are you painting along with me? And if you do, please do share and tag me because I would love to see your work. All right, let's start off by getting our page nice and wet. So I'm just going to dip this little, I say little, it's got a short handle, but it's not exactly little. It's 1.5 inches Mottler brush by Aqua Elite by Princeton. And I'm just going to really wet my page. I want this page nice and wet. And again, I'm not going to have it pooling water, but I want it nice and glossy, really glossy. And I just have this taped yet again to one of those chalkboards that I pick up at the Dollar Tree. I love using those to tape down my work because then I can pick it up and I can move it. Okay. There's a little buckling going on there, but our paper is nice and wet. And you can see I don't have any water running, but I definitely have a really nice glossy surface. All right. So now we're going to dive right in and we are going to keep moving. Have your table salt ready because we are going to work quickly with that. So I'm going to take for starters, I'm just taking my 3/4 wash. I've dipped that in my water, tapped it off, and I'm going to come in here and grab some of my yellow. Some of these have already dried on my palette. I'm going to give them a mist because, like I said, I need to be able to work fast. Look at those just take off. All right, so our yellow, about the bottom inch, we are going to keep it white. Okay, so we want kind of in the center right now. We're going to put down some of this yellow. Remember, we have a lot of water on our paper, so this is going to dilute our paint further, and it is going to lighten as it dries. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to give a quick mist. We're going to grab a tissue. I should have told you to have a tissue ready. Apologies. I'm just going to kind of give this a quick mist because everything is going to dry really fast in here today. Remember I showed you with the sun how I pulled out the paint? I'm just going to ball up my tissue. I'm going to pick a spot right about here. And I'm going to press, quarter turn, lift. And now I have my sunshine right there. There's my setting sun. that paper underneath is still damp, but it's not as wet. So that yellow can't move back into it. It's going to keep that nice and bright. I'm going to take my 10 round. Let me move these so you can see when I'm going to tap off on my sponge here. I'm going to flip this over because it'll stop rocking. And I'm just going to go in the center of that circle and just till I touch the edges. So then I'm still going to have that bright spot in the middle, but everything in my brush was not very wet. It leaves it so I don't have I don't end up with a hard line around it, because I don't want that. And really, you're not going to see a whole lot of it here, because that's where I did it on that one. Okay. So next we want to, again, I can see that my paper is it's losing its sheen. We really see how it's really losing. It's becoming more and more matte. I don't want that. I'm just going to give her a spritz up here. Okay. Now, I think I made that a little too wet. Got a little too crazy. Just going to pull a little bit of water off of here. And there we go. It was just too much at the bottom. It's fine. All right. We're going to start with our orange. So taking a little bit of that orange, or I say orange, it was a very warm red. And I'm going to bring that up mixed with some of my yellow. And right in through here, I'm going to kind of just tap in. Just tap. I'm going to let it do its thing. I'm going to come even up around. Notice I avoided my sun. We're going to just tap. Just tap some in. Come back. Grab some more. This is why I need my paper to stay wet, because I want these to kind of spread. All right, we're going to grab a little bit more of that warm red, and we're going to go again. I went up into the space where my sun was, which is fine. To this part, we have to keep moving very quickly. We're just going to dab, dab. And now I'm going to grab that PV19. And we're going to drop some of this in. And again, remember, it's going to move. We got to work quickly. Just kind of bringing it across, just like that, kind of through the middle. I kind of worked my way up a little bit, didn't stay straight, but it's fine. Completely fine. Dropping a little extra in. I want this to be nice and wet, right? Because we are about to grab our salt. Okay. I'm going to give one fine mist over the top because I want this to stay nice and damp. Put my salt in my hand. And now I'm going to just pinch that between my fingers. And I am going to just put a little bit of this salt over where my pink and my orange were. Okay, I ended up with too much salt. I'm going to put it, I don't even know where. I'm looking for something that would hold it. I'm just going to set it on this little piece of plastic so I can use it again. Okay. All right. Now we need to continue doing our sky. So we're going to jump back in here. This is not, it's so matte right now. I can't pick it up because that salt is starting to do its thing and I don't want to disturb that. But I am going to grab my wash brush again, a little bit of water, and I'm just going to dampen this area. Not going to get into my salt. My brush is not super wet. I'm just starting to bring a little bit of the sheen back to my page. All right, our orange and yellow. Don't be afraid to put that pigment down. It doesn't have to be a perfect, smooth, even wash. There could be clouds in the sky, and that is just how it will translate. I'm going to come over here and grab that pink, that PV19. I said pink. That's like my quinacridone red. Here's where I'm just kind of paying attention to like that horizon line, if you would. I'm going to need more. PV19, PR168. You're getting ready to go for the salt again. So we're going to kind of blend these in. And we're going to put some more. Right, we're going to build up. I'm thinking like the shape of my tree. I'm not liking this right here. I'm going to smooth that out in a moment. But I need more pigment in these spaces. And this is where the magic's going to happen. So a little bit more of that PV19. You see how this is getting, there's more water, there's more pigment. And real quick, tapping off my brush, because I do not want to bring a lot of water into this space, but I just wasn't liking how that was blending, and I wanted to soften it up. All right, so there we go. Okay, let's grab our salt. Again, got my salt in my hand, and I'm going to pinch, and I'm going to put it up here on each side where my trees are going to be. And you can see how much salt I'm putting down there. It really shows up well. But if you remember, when we did the, when I did the test ones, the Daniel Smith colors didn't leave hard marks. So look at how this is already happening. Like, they look like frosty trees already. So there we go. Now we have to leave this. This has to dry on its own. George says, she said trees again. Yes, I did say trees again. Dolphin Soul says, it looks like coral. Oh, I've got ideas, doesn't it? Yeah, it absolutely. Also, you can do like coral underwater shapes with this as well. I'm not seeing as much of the orange as I wanted to see in here. I definitely had more orange in this one, and I kept my pink lower. But it's fine. It is fine. If we look at our inspiration image again, see, quite different. Every one of these will be different because you're not going to be able to control exactly how the salt does its thing. It's just going to go. I think I would like a little bit more orange in that space. I'm just going to grab my size 4 round, and we're going to take that PR168. And you don't need to do this. You do not need to do this if you are happy with what yours looks like. I'm mixing it with some of that yellow because I don't want it this bold. I definitely want it to have some yellow. And I'm just going to tap. But my paper's still very wet. So I'm just tapping some spaces back here. And this is certainly going to give us the look. I'm even going to come down through. I'd have to get that wet. It'll be too dark if I go over that sunshine. See that? It just starts to look like trees. I'm losing a bit of the bright yellow part because, you know, my PV19 creeped a little high, but it's fine. It's fine. All right, there we go. I'm not going to add salt to those bits. I'm just going to let them stay just like that. My paper's still very much wet, so they're going to keep spreading. Okay. Now, while this is doing its thing, and look, it's already, like, there are things already happening here. I can give this another mist over and just see if that helps this do a little bit more action in there. We'll see. I really like what I've got here. You have to do it when it's really wet. If you want the bigger, the bigger marks like this, like these, it has to happen when that is really, really wet. And if you look at this, I had more pigment on this side, less pigment on this side. So you can also see what happens there with needing more or less pigment. Same with up here. More pigment, I don't hardly get a lot, but when there's less pigment, more water, I get a bunch. So, hi, Karen. She says pink frosty trees and orange frosty trees. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, Karen loves orange. Okay. So now we have to let this set. And we don't want to use our heat tool or anything on it yet. I will let you know when, because we are going to use our heat tool, but not quite yet. Look at this from when I misted and it landed on my palette because my palette was drying and it got into that paint. Okay, so now we need to do the bottom. When we do the bottom part, we are going to want some Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White on our, let me see if I can move this just a little bit more on our palette. You can't see it. Let me turn this way. I'm going to put it up here. Okay. So we are going to, it's almost going to be time for me to use my new bottle. So there's some Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White on my palette. And there we go. Oh, that just made my water all kinds of murky and nasty. All right. And then we are going to add to that. We need our neutral tint. I'm going to put that over here. Now, when I work on for my snow, I'm going to want some of this neutral tint. This is Daniel Smith's neutral tint is a nice, cool neutral tint. And I'm going to want some even cooler though. So for that, I say cooler. I want my shadows to look cool. I'm going to want to bring in some blue so it feels cooler than this. But I'm actually going to use a warm blue. I'm going to use my ultramarine blue because it leans red. So it's going to go much better with the red that's already in my painting. So you're going to see that over here. Okay, so I definitely want a warm blue, but it's going to bring in the cool parts of my painting. All right. First thing we're going to do, remember, this is still very much damp. It is not going to be completely dry yet. We're going to take that wash brush. We're going to wet the bottom of this. So we're going to want some nice, soft blending. This is snow. Is it snowing where you are, Karen? It is really snowing here. Okay, so now Karen is one of my painting buddies. We do plein air painting in the spring, summer, fall. I can't wait. I'm just lifting out a little bit of this red. It's not really going to matter, but Okay, now we're going to take some of our neutral tint, and in the background here, we have a lot of shadows. And see, with this one, I didn't bring in that blue. It's very gray. And it's fine. Like, all these colors definitely go together. But I thought I wanted to bring in a little bit of cooler values. Some cooler values in there. She said, yeah, it's coming down where you are too. Yeah, we have a couple inches already. It started here like just before 1. So I'm mixing a little bit of that ultramarine in with that neutral tint. And then I'm going to go right here along this edge, and it's going to move on its own, right? This is just going to help me set up that distant horizon line. Some of those shadows below my trees. It's going to get much darker. This will get much lighter because remember, I just put all that water down. So it is going to get much lighter. Let's grab a little bit more just neutral tint this time and bring that in. Okay, so this is my distance. I'm going to clean out that brush. I'm really working with a larger brush. I'm working with a 10 round. If you're not comfortable with that, you can use an 8 or a 6 or whatever you're comfortable with. And now I'm just going to pull right along the base. And that is just going to smooth out any of those little like tentacle looking things that want to happen when it spreads in the water. Okay, we have a couple more areas that we need to lay in. Look at how this is going. So different from my last one. Every time you do this, they are going to be different. And I did do that on this one when I did these trees. It's hard to see, but there is some of that salt effect is like in here. Yeah, it's all going to come together. All right. I want to put down, I need a little bit of pink. So back over here, you can see my colors. Let me just kind of move that aside so I can move this up. And then now you can see kind of all of them. All right. So over here, we're going to have, I'm coming into this, it's dry on my palette. So I really want this to be more dilute, right? I want a very light value. So extra water. Tapping my brush off because I don't want a ton of water. I don't want to flood this space. And we're going to bring a little bit of that pink through here. And then on this side, we have these big trees. So this is going to work with like where the shadow of the tree that's going to be here and the shadow from the trees that are going to be here. So we're going to put some down here. Okay, we're leaving some of that white space in between. And you see how we're getting like this kind of wonky line? We want to smooth that out. Dr. Paige Martins is going to help us do that. So now I'm going to grab a little bit more water on my brush and this nice, cool, ultramarine neutral tint, much more dilute. I am going to want for this side, this is where I have some shadows, right? My sun's here, so it's going to have shadows on the both outsides from where those trees are. I'm going to bring that right to the bottom of my page. And then here, we're going to bring some in. And actually, I'm going to pull it. I'm going to pull it out. Let me go back this way. There we go. We're going to just kind of pull some out. This is where our trees are going to grow up from this spot over here. Remember, we can always darken this up and it's going to dry lighter. So don't be afraid to go a little darker than you think you need because again, there's water on our paper, there's water in our brush, our paint's already diluted. It's going to be further diluted by the water on our paper. It will dry lighter. Okay. This up here, it's kind of like a harsh line. We don't want that. We want it to be nice and soft. This is how we're going to take care of that. I'm going to grab, we're going to do a lot of rinsing out here because we're going to grab a little bit of our Dr. Paige Martins Bleed Proof White. And I'm just going to come in. This is dilute. Now remember, Dr. Paige Martins Bleed Proof White is only bleed proof if the underlayer isn't wet. But remember, our underlayer is very much wet right now. It is not shiny. If we look at this, see this, the page is very matte. You're not seeing a high gloss here, but it is still wet. Okay, so we're going to take that little bit of the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, and I'm going to come through here, right over where that neutral tint was, and watch how it just kind of softens that. I need to keep rinsing my brush out when I go back. Otherwise, I'm going to have picked up stuff from here. And then I'm going to contaminate my white up here, but I'm going to be pulling it to see that. Even that line that we had there softens that right out. It's mixing with that gray. It's going to give us a nice, soft, creamy consistency. Don't worry about this line here. We're going to be painting over that. We just want to kind of smooth out that shadow that's coming down. All right, that's our background. I can take some and blend them together where I want a little extra coverage here. And it's gonna be nice and soft. Now, I can also grab a little bit more. I've added water to this Dr. P.H. Martin's. This is not full strength because there was a lot of water on my brush. Again, my page is still damp. So this is just the white. I'm going to bring that through. Just sort of brighten up some of that snow. Now, once I push back into where the neutral tint was, I don't want to come back up here because now it's contaminated and I'm going to get like a gray. So you see, this is why I had to take my palette down and wash it earlier because I used Dr. P.H. Martin's and had it mixed in. So if I would have tried to put more paint on that, it would have just been contaminated. All right. And again, that little spot that dipped down, I'm not worried about it. We're painting trees there. You're not even going to see that by the time we're done. So little things like that, don't let them get you, don't let them get you excited. Okay. Just nice. My brush, again, you see I'm just like wiping it. I just wipe it like this on my sponge just to pull out some excess water. Anywhere that maybe it's doing some weird feathering, if you guys can't see that, let me bring it up closer. See how that's doing like that little feathering? If I don't want that, I can just come back over with that damp brush and smooth that out. Okay, so now we just have some nice shadows there. Look at our salt. That is wonderful. At this point, we need to dry our painting. So we are going to grab our heat tool, grab our hair dryer. I'm going to grab the heat tool and give mine a quick drying for the sake of time. You could at this point walk away, go grab a cup of tea, something, whatever, something to drink, maybe do a chore around the house and then come back. The salt will continue to do its thing until it has absorbed as much moisture as it can from the page and it's dry. But at this point, I like my effect. So if I dry this, I'm going to freeze it at this point. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and do that. And Wildflower says, we have so much fun on her Discord. I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you. I have a ton of fun chatting with all of you guys on Discord. All right. I'm going to mute this for just a moment, just in case my mic doesn't want to cancel it. I'm just going to give this a dry with my heat tool. Okay, my paper is pretty much mostly flattened out. I shared that question. Dolphin Soul asked, how long does it usually take for salt to dry? Great question, but I can't give you an exact answer. It depends on your environment. How long does it normally take for your paper to dry when you leave it to dry on its own? That's how long it's going to take. It won't take any more or less time when you have the salt on there. So right now, I am just going to brush this off into my wastebasket, and it has all come off so easy from this paper. All right, so now look at that. All of my salt are gone. So all the little granules that you did see, gone. Look at this. We have got trees that are just, if you have trouble doing trees, we already have some structure here to guide us. And that's what we're going to use as we continue. Will that much salt cause issues with later layers? Nope. I just brushed it all off. It's all off my page now, and I shouldn't have any problems. I pushed my tape up. I'm just kind of re-sealing that down. Okay. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start working on some of our trees. I kind of went like a little wonky up here. I really don't think it's going to be a problem as we continue. I will be paying attention to that as I go, but this tree kind of takes up a lot of space, so it's fine. Yeah, as long as it is. So Dolphin Soul says, it always blows my mind that it doesn't smear when you brush it off, and it won't as long as you let it dry completely. If it's not dried completely, you could smear when you go to brush that salt. Because remember, that salt absorbed that pigment. So it could. But once it's dry, no. It just, boop, brushes it off. Nice, easy peasy. Okay. Oh, we are glad that you could join us, Berlina. And I also noticed, let me just take a moment. Welcome, Kathy. We are so glad that you found us. Kathy said she was getting her paints now to paint along. I'm so glad to hear that. Okay, so here we are. Let's start putting in some trees. So for my trees, I'm going to want to mix up, grab my size 10 round again. I'm going to be using my size 4. This is a long round. I love the long rounds because look at the point on that thing. This is like the smallest brush I find I ever need. I rarely need a brush smaller than this because look at that. It's like just a razor sharp point, but yet it has enough of the belly of the brush to really hold some pigment. So yeah, the 4 long round by the Princeton Velvet Touch line, definitely one of my favorites. I love their long rounds. All right, so my 10 round, I am going to, again, my neutral tint. I'm going to do it right here. If I get some of that ultramarine blue in there, it's fine. I don't care. And then I'm going to come over to my PBR 7, my raw umber. So here's my, I still had paint. I still had paint on my brush when I grabbed that. So you guys aren't really seeing it. There we go, right? My raw umber. There, see how milky that is? I have Dr. Paige Martin's Bleed Proof White in there. I am not going to use that. I'm going to remix it over here because I don't have the Bleed Proof White. Basically, by using my neutral tint and the raw umber, I'm just making a nice, cool, deep, dark brown. And that's what I want. I want to feel some of that we need some cool colors. It's winter. So that's going to bring in that winter feeling, right? That it's cold outside, where you're just hoping that this sunshine will still make you warm for a little bit longer before it's gone. Okay. I'll probably need to mix more than that, but for now, that is plenty to get us going. We're going to start just getting some on the tip of my brush. And I'm going to start, and of course, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to work from left to right. So you see here, we had some of those spots where, let me give you a closer look. Some of our neutral tint like went up. Guess what? It just painted the start of some trunks for me. It already told me, hey, we're going to put some trunks here. So it's fine. We don't have to worry about that if that happens. Like, this is so easy. Oh my gosh, Virginia says she has daffodils almost ready to bloom. We are months, months and months away from daffodils. That is for sure. I don't think the daffodils here, we might see some in April, but usually it's like not till May. I don't have crocuses. I know those are like one of the first to come up. I'm just laying in some background. I'm not even going to worry about this edge. I'm going to start about an inch or so in and then work my way through that. And right now I'm just starting with a few of the places that I saw where it went up. I'm going to make it look like there's some trunks back there. Remember, this is our background. Let's not like fuss too much or worry too much about what's going to be going on back here. This paint is definitely still going to dry. Still going to dry lighter. All right. Now, I am just dipping the tip of my brush into my water, and I'm actually going to come right here. I just want a lighter version of this. So just whatever I had on my brush, I just tapped the tip of my brush to my water to get a little bit more and then dilute the color that I'm working with. And you see where our dark lines are? Let that just be like right here. We have a nice dark line. I'm going to make that a nice tree trunk. Right? And maybe it splits off this way. You see how I'm putting some marks in where the dark parts are. And look, I just painted a tree back there, covered in snow. Right? It's that easy. So we're just going to kind of carry on as we go. Maybe I have a trunk right there that's in the back. What this white is not, you're not seeing it. And then maybe underneath that, we'll pull it down and meet that line. Look at that. We've already got some trees. Still coming over here in my lighter color, because these are further back, so they can be lighter, especially as we come up here near the tops. We're going to want that lighter. I'm going to try to pull down to make it easier, but you guys paint them however you are most comfortable. Remember, sometimes, and there goes snow. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there goes a snowmobile down the road. People are excited. We have barely had any snow yet this year, so I fear it's coming. It's going to be coming with a vengeance. Maybe. We'll see. We only had maybe a couple inches on the ground before snow started falling today. I started to say, like, if you pull backwards, sometimes where we first touch our brush, we get more paint. So it's harder to get that really thin point if we are pulling back and down, whichever way works best for you. Whether you pull down towards the bottom and let them get larger. Look at those trees. Dolphin Soul asked, will paints that are mixed with bleed-proof white react to salt? I had that same question. And so this was the PR 168 mixed with some bleed-proof white. You see the difference? Not as much. They won't react as much. And I did get some texture. So yes, you can get some texture out of it, but not this same kind of texture. So you just have to experiment with the color you're working with. Hope that helps. And we don't want to spend too much time on these back here. Again, it's our background. Cadmium Red Feral Kitten says it makes nice rock texture. Yes, definitely. And I'm not going to worry about continuing like the line all the way. It's okay if this gets broken up. Also, another thing that I want to do, maybe, let's see, we'll do some, like, see where I have some of these orange that are taller? What if we make those? Ooh, we'll do it with this one. Or this one. Yeah, let's do it with this one. We're going to go down. Right, this guy here, maybe it kicks over. Yep, like that. Sure. And he's going to break that line. This tree is going to come a little closer to us. Now, I want to get some lines up here into this orange, but I don't want to use it as dark as I am right now. So I'm going to want that even lighter. I'm going to grab a little bit of that really dark for that branch down there. Maybe let's do this guy. I'm going to pull, like this one's bent over. I'm going to pull it down. Okay, we're going to pull some branches down. We're going to touch this up with some snow on that after. But why not? Okay. Again, clean off my brush. I went into my water because I want this even lighter. You guys can't see it. I want this even lighter. So even lighter than that. I just tapped my sponge to make sure I didn't have too much on it because I want to take this, right? There's a lot of sun up here. The sun's up here. And there's still too much water. That wasn't exactly what I wanted. There we go. I made that line a little thicker, which is fine. I just need to follow it down because I got a little thicker up here. I just need to make sure that the trunk of my tree can support that. It gets bigger as it gets to the ground. So I'm going to want to go bigger. There we go. Now it can definitely support that. But like my sun is like right here. So I'm going to even pull in, why don't we pull in a little bit of orange into that? I'm going to turn this so you can see the colors I'm mixing. I just pulled a little orange right in with that neutral tint. Really kind of warmed it up. Tap on my sponge so I don't come in with too much. Because up here, where the sun is, right? Maybe the silhouette there is going to have some more of that orange color to it. So Cadmium Red Feral Kitten said it was not quite clear on the screen when you're looking at my palette here. Does Neutral Tint by Daniel Smith have a blue or violet undertone? So it is definitely, let me grab my card here. Because it has PV19. It has, oh my goodness, I can't even read what I've written for what color, what pigments are in my neutral tint. But I'll show you. Neutral tint. So it definitely has, because it's got the PV19 in it, you certainly get some of that, like, you get that purpley blue undertone, but I'm seeing like the violet come through in that. I hope that helped answer your question. It's definitely like a cooler neutral tint. It definitely leans more to the blue violet side versus some neutral tints that lean a lot warmer. Okay, so again, coming back to my, you see how little paint, how little pigment I have here. Very dilute. Tapping my sponge just to make sure I don't have too much paint to flood my painting with. I don't want to put too much water down. And I'm just pulling in to those areas that I popped up. I'm just pulling down with this darker orange. Just want it to look like some branches. I'm probably going to bring that one down a little further. Maybe we'll bring another tree in front right there. But again, I don't want to spend too much time on these because it is our background and we're already an hour in. We have to paint our other trees. We have to get birds going. There's so much to do. Okay, but I just want to make it look like we've got some branches out here. Look at those trees. Okay. Okay, excellent. Yeah, I prefer my neutral tints to lean more this way as well. Daniel Smith is one of my favorite neutral tints. All right, let's finish working on this guy. I think this tree, I think we're going to pull, grabbing a little bit more of that orange. Let's even grab yellow. Grabbing it from the other spot on my palette. Okay, because I'm going to make this one part of this. I'm going to bring that through that sunshine, right where the sun is setting. There's my tree coming back in over here. You see I'm slowly bringing more of that umber neutral tint mixture. That's what this was that was watered down. So that as I leave where that sun is its brightest, I'm slowly working my way back to that brown. There we go. I think this is gonna bring some branches off of this. It's so easy to get carried away with painting your trees. And again, these are just the background. I want that to look like another branch that's kind of bent over. My palette is just drying so quickly. By misting it, I don't bring in too much water back in and dilute my paints too much. Okay, let's... Just continuing to work some of my trees back here. Maybe this one is a little bit closer. Not quite as close as that one, but maybe a little bit closer. My brush is drying out. That was a little dark. It's fine. Okay. So I just keep continuing to look for spots where perhaps there's a lot of those dark lines that were made from the salt, where I can kind of pull, maybe pull something that looks like some branches down through. Don't be afraid to have some branches that are like coming downwards. Or to have some of your trees move closer by breaking that line. And that tree just got a bit bigger, so we're just going to go for it. It's going to grow all the way up. Oh, that got really wide. Not what I wanted. There we go. right? Because it's winter. If these are like deciduous trees, they don't have leaves on them. So we just want to make it look like they're really frosty or covered in snow. Thanks, George. We're almost there. We've almost got ourselves across. Okay, and you can have yours as densely wooded or not, as you would like. That was just a great opportunity to make one look like it was all bent over. See, and that salt just really helped us kind of create this little wooded scene. And every one will be different, because if you're just following along, you know, and using some of those darker areas to determine like where your trees are going to be, you can see how it'll always be different. Because we cannot control where the salt goes, how it goes. And I'm not going to worry about too much more into that, because we're going to have our big tree over here. So just kind of focused in between our trees. And again, this one, I didn't really carry these up much more because we're going to have our big tree over here. Look at that. Love it. Love it. And it is not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same as this one. It's different, right? These, I also had some more, like I had, oh, I think I will put one. Let's bring one of these down. Let's make one of these a little bigger. I kind of liked that, like compositionally. And I forgot like these two. I mean, that one is a little bit more, but I think let's bring some. Maybe this guy. I like how these are. Let's just, all we have to do is break the plane and pull it down a little bit further. And I'm just going to darken up its branches. Maybe. Oh, okay, I went to the left there. I went to the left there. All right, maybe it will have a little cluster of 3. Yeah. Perfect. And let's bring this one down. This one kind of goes up, and that snow was heavy and pulled it right down there. Yeah. Again, I kind of did the same thing because I went to the left with that one. Maybe it goes both sides, kind of. The snow was heavy over here. We'll figure it out. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to take a little bit over here. I had some of that, my shadow color. There's some Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White kind of mixed in with that. So I'm just going to reactivate that. Just getting a tiny bit on my brush. And I think what I'm going to do, our sun's here, right? Let's pull some shadow. Again, I'm coming from my sun, right? We're just going to pull, my sun's right here. We're going to pull some shadow. Off that tree. I didn't do that on the other one, but I think I like it. Again, here's my sun, so I want this shadow to come out this way, and it's going to have some hanging over. You don't have to be perfect with what your tree was doing, but I did have that nice line there, so I kind of mimicked it there. And then on this one, again, I'm kind of pull. I'm just kind of pulling out some random little marks. Yeah, that's my tree. Look at how much we just lit up that scene by putting in those shadows. There we go. Okay. We're going to do the same when we get, we'll darken up more shadow as we put in our other trees. So let's get those done now. We're going to do our birds right at the very end. They actually go really quick. Okay. The trees definitely are what take the longest. I'm going to mix up some more of my neutral tint. And raw umber. We're going to do the same thing we just did on a bigger scale. Okay. I'm actually going to use my size 10 round. Again, if you are not comfortable with a brush this large, you can use whatever you prefer. I'm going to come over here. All right. Let's plant our tree, this tree. He's going to be right about, remember we had this shadow. So wherever that shadow, the shadow needs to be on this side of the tree. So at the top of where that shadow is, we're going to anchor our tree in right there. And so I'm starting just by pulling up a little bit. Right. Now, where some of these crystally structures are, that's going to help us make like our branches. And I could have had like more snow coming down lower. We may put stuff on top of that. We'll wait and see. But for now, just bringing that up through. And then I'm just gonna start with getting just the main lines of the large parts of the trunk of the tree. We'll take branches off of it after. I'm seeing a lot of dark here, so I can use that. I'm just going to kind of come down. And look how it kind of comes off like this. Let's work with, and look at this kind of comes and they hang downwards. See that right there? That's a perfect branch to be leaning over. I'll use my finer, my smaller brush to do some more of those details. But again, we're just going to keep going with laying in the structure here. Bring this up. Some more here. A tree does not have to be a straight line. They don't grow in a perfectly straight line. I have more. See, we have more of those dark lines. Let's use those to our advantage. Okay, and as we get to the top, our tree needs to get skinnier. Wider at the bottom, smaller at the top. So there we've already laid in some of the structure of this tree. Thank you, Joseph. For those of you who don't know, Joseph is one of our channel moderators, the other being Tara, who is not here today because Tara, I told you guys last week, Tara is in Ireland and they had a bad storm come in that took out power for so many people. She's still without power. Last I talked to her, like they just keep changing when it might be back on. That date just continues to change. So our thoughts are with her. I hope that she and her family get power back soon. There we go. Look at that. Loving that tree so far. I'm going to thicken up this part of the trunk a little bit. Because look how thick we are down here. We can beef that up a little. Maybe we have a little branch that comes off like this. And it too is kind of bent over doing its thing. We can come off here. Look, that just begs to be a branch off on the tree. So we're just going to go right up there. Don't be afraid to have some look like they're coming downwards. You can do as many or as little as you want. See, I had this one coming up, and right above that, here, looks like I can pick it up again, right there. Hey, Rob. I think you're going to love having fun with this one, Rob. And don't be afraid to just randomly let that brush kind of skip around in there because there's going to be a lot. Deciduous trees have a lot of branches, right? There's a lot of little branches, thicker ones, but then there has a ton of these little tiny ones, which is what this looks like in here. So there we go. Hi, Ian Jackson. I'm loving our tree. This one I'm going to take kind of right off the page, but I'm going to bring these back in. And we're going to bring some of those off that way. Remember, that got a little wide up there, so I want to thicken it up as it comes down. Got to make sure that what's below it can support it. Otherwise, it's breaking off in this snowstorm. It is still snowing. Snowing like crazy. I love watching it snow. And I thought you would like this one, Rob. There we go. Now on the last one I did, I made like 2 trees over here. I don't think I want to do that. I would think I want 3. I want 1 over here, 2 over here. I think that's the way we're going to do it. Oh, Rob likes to give us questions of the day over in Discord. And he asked what our top 3 favorite pieces of art that we have created were. And yeah, my apologies, Rob. I still have not posted mine. Of course, one of them is definitely my lighthouse. Love that one. I'm making this branch kind of hanging down, almost like it's kind of coming towards us. And I think I want to like see how this is nice and wide, but look how thin it is right there. I think we need to thicken it up and it will be done. It's fine that we have some space there where maybe there's some snowy branches that come in front of it, but we want to make sure that it looks like the overall tree is going to be big enough to support what's above it. There we go. Okay, yet again, just like these, let's come back over here where we had some of our Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, some of our neutral tint, and our sun's coming from here. So let's just pull some shadow. This is closer to us, so it is okay that this be darker. Adding a little extra blue in there because, you know, it's on snow. Let's really chill that out. There we go. Ah, look at that. This is getting so much brighter the more darks we bring into here. Oh, I hope not. Thanks for asking, Boo Peep. Okay. Now we got to get these 2 trees in, and I think we're still doing okay for time as long as we focus. All right. And if you don't have paint where you're getting, when you test it, you're getting this lovely salt effect, I will show you another way before we're finished that you can still do this, where you would just put in your sky, paint your trees, and then you would do everything the same way to start, and then we would come back on top with the snowy bits, and I'll show you how we do that. Because see, I came back in on this one on top with more snow. Okay. So here, doesn't really look like 2 trees going on here, but we can make it look like 2 trees. So for starters, again, this is already like so dry. I'm going to give a little mist on my palette there, and I will bring in some more paint. Again, I'm working with Daniel Smith's neutral tint for my trunks, and PBR7 raw umber. Just makes a nice, cool, dark brown. While I still have this from mixing on my size 10 round brush, I'm going to go ahead and start to lay these trees in. Now, this one here, I'm going to make be slightly closer. I think I would have wanted to put that one back a little bit further, but that's not where my other kind of shadows in the snow were. Yes. Cadmium Red Frailkin asked if I was going right through to the end of the painting today. Yes, I am. Hopefully, we will have that finished up, because it really does not take long to put our birds in. The trees definitely take the longest. So I'm going to have one down here. I'm just going to put the start of my trunk down here, and I'm going to have the other one kind of back like this. Okay. That's where they're going to kind of anchor into. So let's go ahead and start bringing this one up. Here's the start of my tree. Let's get this guy in here. There's the start of that guy. All right. Now I'm going to switch up again to my smaller brush. I'm going to want, I didn't work it in here, but let me just quickly show you guys again our inspiration image, which was this one. I liked that the snow would not look that pink on that tree. No, but of course this was AI, was the inspiration, created this. So we're not going to see like this bright pink snow, if you would. But we could pick up some of that color reflecting from the sunset for sure. So we're going to add a little bit of that. And if I look at this, it actually looks like there's like a couple more trees in the background behind it. I think I like that. When I did this one, I didn't really, yeah, I had one here, but I think I'm going to go with a little bit different approach. We'll see how this turns out. What's the worst that can happen? Let's just have fun with it. So before I really dive into coming up into this, I'm going to take a little bit of my orange, a little bit of that PV19, my Quin Red. You can use Quin Rose. It's fine if that's what you have. And I just cleaned my brush off because I'm going to come over here. My Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White is really dried out, but we're going to pick up some of that. We're going to mix it in over here. We're going to grab some of this like orange and bring that over here too. Some more of the Dr. P.H. Martin's, right? Because we can tint our color with our Dr. P.H. Martin's. Or we can tint our Dr. P.H. Martin's with our color. How's that? All right. That's what I'm going to be working with. And if we put in a little bit of that, that's kind of like to the back, branches falling down over here, I'm just going to, you see I started to come in this way, but I want my branches to be kind of facing the ground. I want these to be some heavy arced over branches. I may paint over some of this that's in this background. Doesn't matter. If you see some of it through, it's fine. If it completely covers it, that's fine too. My brush is really dry. There we go. All right, so right, we're picking up some of the reflection here, so let's just go with it with the pink orange feel. I'm just tapping some of this in. I'm thinking branches, right? Thinking branches covered in snow. I'm thinking a branch that's like flopped over like this way. And you see how that's just kind of blending right into what we got from that salt effect. And just pulling down, thinking like, hey, it's a branch. Painting branches. I'm going to put some up here. And again, everybody's is going to be different. So it is not going to be possible for you to mimic, do exactly identical to what I'm doing because of the way the salt was so random. I'm coming back with some lighter on top. Now I've got some shadows. All right. Those branches. And of course, you see down here, we had some of that pink on our snow. Just washing a little bit of that out. There we go. It's fine. All right, back to our trunks. Again, Daniel Smith's Neutral Tint and Raw Umber. Okay. I'm going to start with this guy. And I think we're going to go here. I want this branch to be okay. It's arcing. It's arcing back away from us. With just a little bit of what's left on my paintbrush here. I'm making very, very fine lines. Oops. Towards the back so that you can see that. Very, very fine lines. Those branches are going away from me. Again, I'm following what that salt gave me. And we could absolutely do another one that goes right off this way. Catch right into that. It's like drying super, super fast. I'm making thinner marks here like this. Let's bring one off this way. All right, we can't have everything pulling on that side of the tree. And this tree is behind this tree. So I may end up painting over some of these, and that's fine. Again, just using those darker veins from the salt to guide me. See how I brought that one back around? Maybe that comes towards us. It's coming back around this way. Oh, you could definitely, if you wanted to do, like this was spring and the cherry blossoms. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That came from Wildflower. You could definitely maybe paint the grass, right? I just think of like the cherry blossoms in Washington. You would probably be seeing green grass there. Not so much here. If it was the time that the cherry blossoms were blossoming. All right. Gotta get this in gear here. Again, when I have the paint is wearing off on my brush, I'm going to pull a lot of my smaller pieces that are, higher up in my tree. All right, I'm going to leave that working with that tree for now because I want to work this one that's in front of me, and then we'll kind of come back and put little branches wherever we feel like they need to go. Again, neutral tint, raw umber. There we go. Get that out of my brush. Okay. Now for this tree, I did bring this one right into it, kind of into its space. Doesn't matter. We're gonna just make pretend it's not even there. Remember I said it's in front of this tree, so now I just made that branch in front of it. And it's arcing down because it's going to be heavy with snow. There we are. There's one part. Let's make it branch off. Yeah, like that. And whenever I pull down like that, anywhere that I have like some, maybe there's an odd little bump that happened here. Well, that's where a branch would grow. I'm going to bring that over. Oh, I started to say when I shared, I think I just had an ADHD moment there. When I shared Joseph's comment earlier, Joseph and Tara are our moderators, and they both have channels here on YouTube. So if you haven't seen them, I definitely invite you to check them out. That kind of looks like a really weird branch, but it's fine. It's fine. We're just going to go with it. Maybe when I bring a tree up here, it'll work into that. Tree branches are weird. You really can't go wrong. I mean, I guess you could, but you just can't overthink it. Just remember, they always have to get thicker toward the bottom. So if you start doing something and you make it too thin, you might have to thicken something up. Now, right here looks kind of weird, right? We need to be like, there's a branch coming off at us. So let's just kind of bring that down. Right, we're kind of seeing some of it sticking out from the snow. It was a little straighter than I wanted, but again, I keep telling you guys, it's fine. Just damp that, just pressed with the tissue, and that came right up. Here we go. Now that branch is coming at us. There we go. I have a bit too much paint on my brush. My branches kept trying to be thicker. All right. I'm just going to put some more in here. We're probably just going to leave it as these two just in the interest of time, because we are going to want to get our birds painted in. And I think our tree's looking great. Again, you can go as much detail as you want. I don't know where I was going with that one, but that was a weird one. We took a hard left turn. We may cover that piece up. I don't like it. And that happens, and that's fine. Right? So you can get as much detail or as little as you want to into the branches of your trees. I mean, you could just keep going and going and going with these. It's a deciduous tree. There's going to be a ton of little tiny branches, right, all over these things. Yeah, I just don't like the really thick line that went off that way. That's where maybe if there was another tree involved here, but we're not doing that today. It's fine. Let's fix it. So, fix it. Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. This is in the area where there's pink, so I'm going to just blend that with some of this reddish orange. Right, and another thing that I can do, what I did here was I took some of my, I'm just going to mix it up over here, my Bleed Proof White with some of that pink color, because our sun's setting, so we're going to have some of that kind of reflection. And I just like dabbed in spots. Again, as much or as little as you want to. Right? I'm going to pull some of that down on these branches. There's snow. There's snow on them. Maybe I'm going to stick to the snow on the right side on this one because the sun has melted it off the left side. Right, let's put some on a few more branches. Some on top. This paint is still really wet. Perhaps throw some brighter white on top of what was there. I can also even pull out some that are white, right, covered in snow. that would work too. And if there's anything that you're seeing, you go, oh, I don't like, just don't do it on yours. Right? If you're seeing anything, you're like, oh, I liked it until you did that. Just don't do that. Whatever that is. And I can pull some branches that are just white. There we go. Our snowy tree. There's a lot of paint that was wet there. Maybe there's some texture on our bark. Pull it in on this one. Do it to the left or right. We'll do it to the left. And again, this time I'm going to concentrate my snow on the opposite side where I put it. Don't have to do as much. I really like the way this tree turned out, so I don't want to mess with it too much. All right, we are going to add in our birds here in just a moment, and we will be done. And those birds really do not take long at all. It's definitely one of those things that you're going to overthink it. Oh, look at our little, oops, sorry guys, I moved that off the screen. Okay. All right. Oh, I need to remember the shadow. We got to get those in over here. My sun is here, so I'm going to pull that this way. If I can get a little bit more water and get that flowing. There we go. Look at, I love that. So when our shadows are much darker here, with these shadows in here, we get so much more light in our painting. Loving it. Okay, are you ready for our birds? To do our birds, I'm wondering if I should have brought these shadows almost all the way to the end, but they are what they are now. Just for this tree, if you're painting this later, why not? Right, that's the one where it's in the sun is there, so let's just bring it forward. Okay, that one comes up and it goes that way, so we're going to kind of go this way, and it goes that way. We're going to go that way. We're going to bring it right to the edge of our painting. I like that better. Just give a little tap, lighten it up. There we go. I like that better. Okay. To paint our birds, we want them to be taking off in, I'm going to turn my palette because I'm just going to use some of this. We want them to kind of be taking off maybe from where our sun is. Because again, right now we're being drawn into this area anyways. So I just started very lightly. This is dry. If yours is not for any reason, just dry it. Okay. So Rob goes, I like it the way it is. No birds. It's for February. So we have birds flying in the shape of a heart. If you like it just like this and you're like, nope, It's February. It's got some pink. I love it. I don't need anything else. It's perfect the way it is. Then stop. You're done. It's great. You don't need to do any more. I still think this would make a great like Valentine's Day card. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to put in our birds taking off in their heart formation. So right about from where the sun is. So right kind of above that, I'm going to start and I'm just going to very, very lightly with a pencil, just going to come in and I'm going to put right a heart shape. I'm doing this a little darker for you guys to be able to see. The heart doesn't have to be perfect. Trust me, we're going to be painting birds on this. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I have a little heart shape there. That is just to guide me when I paint my birds. We're going to erase any pencil lines after. Okay. All right. See, Wildflowers goes, it's perfect right now. I agree. No birds needed. You don't have to put birds on yours if you like it just like this. I think this is gorgeous. Okay. For our birds, I'm going to bring in a little bit more of our yellow. This is our mixture we used for our tree trunks. So I'm going to grab it and come down here. I'm going to bring some of that yellow. I'm going to grab this. I'm warming it up. Our birds are taking off. They're going to be silhouette. I just wanted it a little warmer. When I grab that neutral tint, let's just see what happens. If you don't like it, we just mix something else. It's fine. Basically what I'm doing is just slightly warming up that neutral tint. I think that's fine. Okay. Don't overthink these. They're birds. You're gonna be like, I don't know how to paint a bird. Are you ready? I'm looking at this one because I liked the way I started. So to start, for the bottom V shape of my heart, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to come down. My body's a little thicker and I'm going to come back out. And there's a bird. That's it. So simple. That's a bird. The brain goes, hey, bird. It knows that shape is a bird. Don't have to be perfect. And now every one, I want a little bit more of this. Kind of more brownish. All right. Now everyone is just kind of a little different, but we're going to follow along with the heart. So if you need to, you can start with like a dot and then a wing out and a wing out. Or maybe this one's a little sideways. So I'm going to come in with a wing. Boom, there's the body and there's the wing. They don't have to be the same size. That is excellent. Wildflower says, I took a screenshot. I hope you got the screenshot before I drew the heart in there. But either way, it's fine. Right? We're just making all kinds of different birds. Our birds can have its wings up. Oh, a bird can have their wings like on the downward flap. There we go. My brush was dry. My paint wasn't flowing. Kind of liking it with a little bit more of that brown in there, but either way, it's all good. We're just going to keep making birds. Our bird in the center, maybe this bird is the one that's a little closer to us. And we're going to do the body right where that heart comes together. And a wing out. And a wing out. Right? He looks bigger. He's closer to us. So our birds are like flying at us. And just happens to look like they made a heart formation. See, we just want to keep popping different directions. Because the birds aren't they're not synchronized flyers, okay? They're gonna have, their wings are all gonna be at different points in flight. There we go. Let's do the other side. And then we're going to give that a really good dry. We will erase our pencil lines, remove our tape, and this one is finished. And if you are, if you're unsure, look up on, say, Pixabay or Unsplash and just choose, search for like birds flying. You're going to see all different shapes that they make when they are in flight. And you can just do a bunch of different little shapes. And like I said, the inspiration image, this guy, it was a heart full of birds. You could do that too if you wanted to. I preferred just doing them like this, like the birds taking off from the trees. And I'm going to put a few birds in the trees still. So it looks like they were all flocked in here and then they took off. But, there's still a few stragglers out there. I'm not worried about, do I have the same number of birds on this side or that side? I'm not worried about that. Just painting birds around my heart shape. My brush is getting too dry. My paint wasn't flowing. I tapped my sponge just to make sure I didn't flood in with too much paint. You hate to get to the very end and feel like you messed her up. There we go. I'm going to do one more. There are my birds. Let's put some in the trees. These are super easy. You don't have to know how to paint a bird. Okay? You definitely don't you don't have to know how to paint a bird. I'm going to put, now I want this lighter. See how this is lighter back here? I'm going to want those to also be lighter. I'm going to come over here where I had some of that much lighter, right? These much lighter values. And I'm going to do that. Let's paint a bird on a branch. Here's a branch. And guess what? There's a bird. Once you have like there's birds flying in the sky, if I make some little like oval shapes, brain's going to go, oh, hey, there's birds in the trees, right? We can even put some on some of these that are closer to us. Maybe they've already flown over to these trees and they're just kind of sitting there hanging out waiting for their buddies to catch up. See that little bird in the tree? And that is something that the viewer will be able to sit there and go, oh, maybe they'll find that later. Oh, there are actually birds in the trees. Right, because it's winter. You can see the branches. You'd be able to see the birds sitting there. And if you don't want birds in your trees, Don't paint them. Just leave it as it is. I'm just going to put a few more. I have a little birdie sitting here, and you know, if he's over here, maybe he needs a little friend sitting down here. Let me bring that up close so you can see. I'm really, it's just a little orb. Right? They're like little orby birds. That's it. I don't know what kind they are. Are they crows? I don't know. Are they ravens? No, ravens, there wouldn't be this many. Ravens are more solitary. Crows are flock. And of course, we won't discuss what you call a flock of crows. If you know, you know. There we go. Little birds throughout our scene. I love it. I hope you guys like that one. Okay. There. So, with the heart, without the heart, you guys will have to let me know. Be sure and drop me a comment. I'm going to mute this while I make sure this is good and dry because we do not want to erase that pencil while this is still wet. So just a moment. If you have any other questions, post them in the chat now. Dolphin Soul says they're lovebirds. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm just going to erase that pencil line. It's going to erase because I put it on top of the other color, on top of the watercolor. It'll erase just fine and like it never existed. Now this bloom, I'm not super thrilled that bloom is there. But it is what it is. I am loving everything else here. I probably just hit that one little spot with a little extra water on my brush. It's fine. Okay. Could I fix that? Yeah, I probably could go back in and fix it if I wanted to, but it's fine. Look at that. I'm loving it. What do you guys think of February's calendar page? Are you painting along? Ian says more like starlings, they flock in thousands. Yeah, that's a very good they could be. And Berlina says it looks beautiful. Love those trees. They're using the salt. I hope you guys will try that. It is a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again. So again, check out the moderators. They are linked in the description below. Also, all of the supplies I have linked below. Again, there it went a little bit under my tape. I showed you last week, but I'll show you one more time. If that happens to you, don't worry. You can fix it if you don't want to see that on your little calendar page for the month. Oh, look at that. I love when we reveal that nice clean edge. You see I'm peeling slowly and I'm peeling kind of at a 45-degree angle, always away from my art. I love it. Oh, look at that page. I am not going to be disappointed to have to look at this for the next, what's that, 22 days? Today's the 6th of February? Yeah. All right. So if we want to fix that, we don't want to see that little pink line hanging out there, then we're just going to grab a little bit of our Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. It's probably going to be a little brighter than the actual paper is, but that's fine. There we go. Look at that. It never happened. There you are. It's coming through a little bit, but it's red. So, go over it a little bit more. There we go. I'm loving the shadows on the trees. I love how that brings so much more light into your painting when you bring in those shadows. You can't, what it was it Bob Ross said, you can't have light without the dark, and you can't have your darks without adding some of the light. So you're bringing in those darks definitely help light it up. Now, you wouldn't see the shadow of the birds because see those tops of those trees are like way down here. So you're not going to see the shadows there. And the sun's not above the birds, so you wouldn't see the shadow probably either. But there we go. I hope you enjoyed learning that technique for doing those frosty, wintry trees. I hope you're going to give that one a try. If you enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button, give us a thumbs up. And if you're not yet subscribed, I hope you'll consider doing so. We're going to be painting a calendar page, one a month for 2025. We will be painting March before February is over. So we're going to get ahead now. We'll start doing them. And these would be great if you're painting along to make one. Maybe you paint the 12 and you give them as a gift at the end of the year for Christmas and make yourself some 2026 calendars if you're creating the calendar page on your own. So next month, I did ask, the reason we did landscapes is I asked last week and I told all of the channel members and patrons that were on Discord to jump in there and let me know what they thought. Did they want landscapes or something else? And this one was inspired because some said landscape, some said, hey, how about some birds? And I thought, we'll do a landscape with birds. It's Valentine's Day. They'll be flying in a heart formation. So there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a blast. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, my friends, keep creating, and I'll see you in a video real soon. Bye, guys.